What's up?
What's up,
How's
guys?
it going, guys? Fix this real quick. So, I have a very special guest on today. My wife.
I'm
Lacy.
so excited. We haven't done a joint live in a long time.
Yeah, so it was funny. So every morning, whenever I try to come up with these live topics, normally when we're driving home from daycare, is when I come up with the topic. And today I figured it'd be perfect to talk about the husbands inside of network marketing and how you guys are shooting yourselves in the foot if you aren't getting involved. And it was funny because then we went to go get food for Lacy, and she was like, hey, someone mentioned that we should do like a Power Couples live again, like redo a Power Couples live. So I was just like, oh, we're on the same page. So
it always happens that way.
Yeah, we're just
like
aligned.
We didn't even decide to do this live. It's like life decided for us.
Yeah, we're just aligned like that. So it's pretty cool. So today we're going to be talking about husbands of network marketing and also in general like spouses in network marketing, right? So I guess we'll start it off first was a lot of times the spouses have hard times getting into the business because they think that it's their spouse's thing, it's their wife's thing, it's their husband's thing. So they stay out of it. But the whole time you're giving judgment and you're giving negativity towards it, right? And I feel like one of our biggest muscles that we have, one of our biggest attributes is that both of us know when to play the support player to the other. Lacy did it. When we first started the business, when I quit my job on my wedding day to start up Indiana Creatives, Lacy was making $15 an hour being a marketing director at Watson's, and she held it down. She held it down for the first 5 to 6 months while we were building our connections, getting the pipeline filled up and everything like that. And there were even times like 3 months in where I was basically like, did I fuck up? Because the money wasn't coming in yet. You know, it's those self-doubt things that all you guys go through. And literally she looked me in the eye and she was just like, no, you're not getting a job. She didn't let me get one. She told me I was more valuable when I was able just to go out there and try to create something out of it. And within 6 months, we were able to get her to, we were able to make enough and have enough jobs coming in to where we could have her quit her job and bring her home, right? And then it flipped again. Because then I started doing Aether estate sales while we were both doing both businesses. Because we were trying, at that point, we were just trying to find if we could get an extra $1,000 a week, $500 a week, $500 here, $500 there. Like we were hustling at that point because we were entrepreneurs at that time.
Well, and you know, in the beginning when we started our business, we were making like $250 for a website. So like I was working full time making the websites and we would earn $250 from it.
Yeah.
And so it's like we really just were not making much in the beginning. And so we had to hustle.
Kitty, you better watch yourself.
Come on, Kit.
Watch out for that coffee. So yeah, at that point, we were trying to supplement because Indiana Creatives was young. It was a baby and it wasn't making that much money yet. And we were building that up and then I started estate sales, right? And what that did, we did that for a while and it was helping out. It was bringing like an extra $4 or $5 grand a month in and it was able to sustain us while we built Indiana Creatives and we got those bigger jobs, right? And then we finally landed a job that was like $25,000. And then that happened in like 12 months. So that kind of like solidified like this process works. So then the next phase of our lives came in where we had to level up. And when we
but you see how we're flipping here, flipping between support and lead role over and over again.
Exactly, because then Lacy came up to me one day and she was like, hey, I want to try this HempWorks because the CBD already helped out. But then she just found out about the business side of it.
I found that we could get a link.
Yeah, so then she was just like, hey, Tim, I want to start this. I was like, cool, how much is it? She was like, 200, cool. You know what I mean? And at that time, like, I was hustling, she was hustling, we were just trying to add another thing.
Well, and that's a big thing too. Like, I walked up to him and told him what we were gonna do, and I didn't expect him to give me crap about it. You know what I mean? Like, that's the way that we support each other through every venture that we've ever done. No matter how crazy it seems, we're like, okay, we gotta do it.
Because in that time where you spend picking apart your spouse's plan,
you're wasting
like
your time.
This is a scam, this won't work, etc., etc. That's time where you could be making plans to make this thing actually happen instead of thinking about what could go wrong. So when she brought that to me, I said, cool, here. We went ahead and invested, and then she started working the business. And at the time, we were making enough with Aether and Indiana Creatives to where there wasn't that much stress initially on HempWorks, right? It was like, cool, just let it build up. You know, our first check was $14. Then it started going up a little more. Then it was like $200. And then around when Enzo was born, we we like got our check, our binary check, and it was like $3,500. Yeah, and that's when I was like, okay, cool, like this stuff's building, you know what I mean? And plus, like, we hated the estate sales. I was never home. Right. You know what I mean? Because
yeah, so I was doing Indiana Creatives full time, the network marketing business. I had Vega at home, and I was pregnant.
Yep. And at that time, I was the manager. So I was managing like 2 or 3 sales a weekend. At that time, we did our biggest sale, which is like 10,000 people for Scott Jones. So we liked it, but the money was cool, but there was no time. Like I hated working sales on weekends. I hated having to prep Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then I hated having to work the sale Friday and Saturday because I had to be there because I was running the whole thing. So then at that point, that's when we started realizing that because I was playing the support player to Lacy and HempWorks, working Aether, working the job, right? That allowed her to build up this business, and then I was able to quit Aether and help her out with HempWorks. So here's another thing too, husbands. So when she asked me, she came up to me, she was like, hey, she was at like 50K at this point. And she was like, hey, I want your help on this, right? Like, let's get back to working together. Because at this point, she was lost in Aether because it just demanded so much. Like, we were in our busy seasons, right? And she asked me to come work with her, and I was like, yeah, absolutely, no problem. So then when I came in, this was all Lacy's stuff, right? And I'm sure a lot of you husbands are going through this because you guys have egos. You guys haven't learned how to use that shit yet. So when you first join, when you see that, you know, you have to come in and you're like, it's a brand new industry. And after like 2 or 3 weeks, you're like, I don't get this, that, this, and that. And then your ego kicks in, you're like, oh, this will just be her thing. I'll just play in the back, whatever. You have a decision you can make here. One, you can sit in the back. You cannot enjoy these conventions because you don't know nobody because you're not engaging with nobody. And you can just be the husband that sits in the back and doesn't do shit, or the spouse that sits in the back and doesn't do shit. Or you can learn how this business works. You can add value to yourself. You can make yourself a key player in it. Will it take time? Yeah, absolutely. That's part of the game, right? So that's essentially the decision I made. I didn't just want to be like, oh, that's her thing. I don't really know too much about it, but you know, it pays for everything, etc., etc. I was like, no, let me get in there, right? So I got in there and I had to learn how to do all this stuff. I had to learn to prospect. I had to learn.
Well, and he got crap from people who were on my team. You know, people saying things like, oh yeah, it's nice how you get to step in.
Yeah.
You know, and that's hard to hear. That's hard for someone. And it's like, it'll make you waver. It'll make you step back and be like, oh my God, yeah, like I came in and this isn't mine and what am I doing? What you're doing is supporting your spouse.
Yeah.
And what you're doing is putting 2 minds behind something that can bring you success.
Yeah.
And with 2 minds, you are going to be so much more likely to earn that success versus fighting each other. Versus one person putting their energy into the business and one person looking at that person saying you're an idiot for putting your energy into the business.
Yeah.
And so it's like all of that energy gets ruined because instead of coming together, you guys are just fighting each other. You're fighting your success in your marriage.
Yeah, because at that point, like, especially when you come from the entrepreneur background where you're used to like being in the trenches in the beginning and getting it all started and stuff like that, and then you come to something that's already pretty much pre-built. And then
pre-built.
Yeah, at that time I was getting a lot of slack from her top affiliate and then her upline too. Like I was getting a lot of shit from them because I don't know, it's almost like if I would have came in and just like didn't do anything, they would have gave me the sympathy like, good job for joining and stuff like that. But I came in like a fucking force. You know what I mean? As far as wanting to help people and stuff like that. So maybe that's why. So maybe you guys are going through that. Maybe there are husbands that are going through that. But there's 2 things that you can do. You can either let your ego take over and ignore it, or you can learn the skills that are necessary and add value to yourself and then add value to the group. Because within 6 months, like, people thought I was there from the very beginning. No, I came in when she was 50K, right? So moving forward, what this does when you decide to...
And wait, that's such a huge point. So many of you watching this live probably didn't realize that he wasn't that involved until 50K. You know what I mean?
Yep.
If you just come in and you make it your purpose and you add that value to yourself, in 6 months, nobody's going to know that you didn't start it and build it and do all this because those details are absolutely irrelevant anyways.
Yeah, and honestly, like, it's the best thing too because it's a huge inner growth thing that you have to do. Like, it took me 6 months of dealing with that shit. You know what I mean? Getting slack from people and stuff like that. And honestly, like, it gave me the maturity that I needed because otherwise I was kind of being spoiled. You know what I mean? Like, I needed to earn that I actually wanted to do this stuff. So I had to learn what was necessary. And it kind of all worked out great. And what the beautiful things that blossom from that with us working together, guys, this stuff is amazing for your marriage. Because it literally is you two against the world at that point. Like, you guys are, like, there's no longer, she's talking about what she's going through at work, you're talking about what you guys are going through at work, but nobody really quite understands what's going on in each other's world.
Right.
But when you actually join, like, you know exactly what's going on. You know
like,
what I mean?
This is the biggest difference too, because, you know, before Tim was in it, I could look at him and I could say, you know, oh my gosh, we've got this going on in the team, and Haley's doing this, and Whitney's doing this, and he can look at me and be like, that's so awesome, I'm so happy for you. Whereas now when I do it, it's like, oh yeah, I know, I already talked to her today.
I'm just like, what's the volume? Really, what are the leaders at?
Right, yeah. Like, you're really in it together, and you're really, you know, you're making your life about you and each other, and building and finding that success. It's so cool.
Yeah, and let's get simple with it real quick, right? So guys genuinely have a couple things on their minds, right? We know what I'm talking about, right? And a lot of couples, they have this problem, right? They can't be intimate because they're just not connected like that. They're not connected in consciousness, right? And you best believe that when me and Lacy started working together and started going through these problems and we started growing spiritually together, our whole marriage just 10x'd because we were going through things together. Like, we were going through the personal development. We were going through the ups and downs, the leg getting cut, building that back up, starting a second account, going to the convention, getting ready for convention. You know what I mean?
All with our kids and our life. And
when you do that with your spouse, because you can't really get that nowhere else unless you start a business. You know what I mean? But 90% of folks are just at their jobs.
You're paid to grow together.
Exactly. Like, we're paid to get stronger. You know what I mean? So imagine if you could have that with your spouse. So, like, it's just changed everything for us spiritually.
Well, like, and can I talk about that for a minute?
Yeah.
So how did that look when we had it? We had a huge breakthrough in our marriage spiritually, and it came through this business. It looked like us personally developing. So we're getting rid of our limiting beliefs in our boxes. And at some point, you get rid of enough limiting beliefs that you start to understand unconditional love.
Yep.
And when you understand unconditional love, you know, you are there for your spouse no matter what.
Yep.
You know, I was able to look at Tim and understand that if he cheated on me, it wouldn't matter because I love you for who you are right now. And you having sex with another woman yesterday doesn't change that.
Hasn't happened.
And so it's just so much more unconditional. It's so much more than, I'm going to stay with you if you follow these rules and do what I need you to do. It's, I'm going to stay with you because you are the person I love. You're my person, my soulmate, and we're going to build this life together.
And that breakthrough was, that was huge for us.
It was everything.
That was huge for us. So, like, you want to tell the rest of that story? So Lacy came up to me, right? She was shaking. She was shaking. She was like, Tim, I have something that I want to tell you, right? And I was just like, oh shit, here it comes. And it turns out it was just a drunken moment. You want to tell the story?
Yeah, so it was the only secret that I had ever held in my life. And as you're getting rid of your limiting beliefs, there's things that you know you have to do. And so when we had first got together, you know, we're like messes. I was an alcoholic. There were a lot of things going on. And so one night, you know, I was out drinking with my friends. And I mistakenly looked at a guy and was like, let's go home, Bear. And I leaned in and I kissed him. Like, my lips touched his lips. And at the point that we were in our relationship, we would not have made it through that because of our boxes and our limiting beliefs. And something inside me was like, you guys are too important to lose it over this. And I had never kept a secret. And it was like, you've got to keep this inside of you until he's ready for you to tell it to him. You're going to tell it to him, but he's just not ready yet. And so this day, I knew that it was time, and my body started telling me it's time. You got to go tell him. And this was 2 days before our Indianapolis Roadshow speech, and we were making the speech, and we were about to practice. So I did not want to tell him today, but I don't get that choice. I've surrendered to life. And so I start shaking. I try to escape to the bathroom. I'm like, let's put this off. Let's put this off. And life was like, you can't. And I was like, I'm going to die if I don't go tell him. So I walked in, got my bravery about me, and I told him. And I knew it was going to be okay, but I knew it was going to hurt really bad. And so while I'm like coming out about it, he's like, just tell me what you're gonna say, because I'm like, I did something and it's awful, and I kept it from you because blah blah blah. And so while I'm explaining what I'm about to tell him, he has the breakthrough, the unconditional love breakthrough
right there.
And so I tell him, and he just looks at me and he smiles.
Yeah, I did.
And he was like, "That's it? That's it?" And I was like, "Yes, that's it. Like, it's the worst thing I've ever done." And you know what I mean?
I was just like, "You're perfect," because the whole time.
And network marketing did that for us.
Yeah, network marketing did that for us. That's when I was just like, "This company's on another level."
Like, where else in the world are you gonna get that for your marriage?
Because for 2 years, we've been through everything, the ups and downs of this business. You know, the parts where you're just like, I'm not sure if we can do this, and then you lean on each other. You know what I mean? So at that point, like, whatever she was gonna tell me, and I was thinking like way worse shit in my head. Like way, you know how guys are, way worse. Like I was just like, oh, just lay it on me.
And the thing is, it could have been that bad, and I feel like it still wouldn't matter. Like that's the breakthrough of it.
Yeah. So I was just like, wait, so your moment was that you accidentally kissed a guy thinking it was me. Okay, that's cool. I can work with that. That's fine. And what it did is that, so before that, like this all led up because we were nervous as shit because we had to talk in front of 600 people in like 2 days with like 3 days notice. So we were going through all these emotions. And then after she told me that, and we both had that breakthrough, that we were just like, you're with me because you want to be with me, both sides. Not just because there are rules and we're married and stuff like that. It's because
not just because of the rules.
Yeah, it's because we choose to be together, right? And after that, the speaking event, all those nerves were gone. Like, we were nervous as shit. And then we had that breakthrough, and then all of a sudden it was like speaking in front of like 600 people. It didn't matter because we were one. You know what I mean? Like, we understood that no matter what situation happened, that we were good to go.
Well, it's like when those limiting beliefs come out of you too, you're making space inside of yourself for light, for life, and it's like that came into us and it gave us what we needed to go do the thing, and we killed it.
We killed it, and then what happened after that? We got asked to go speak in front of 6,000 people. You know what I mean?
And I know that if we didn't do the breakthrough before the event, it wouldn't have happened. Like, it all had to happen exactly as it did in this weird, twisted...
Yeah, exactly. And honestly, it's because network marketing pushes you there. Because when you're stuck and your business is stuck and things like that, what do? You go personally develop yourself. You go strengthen your mind. You go strengthen your mental. You go strengthen your spirituality. And we've been doing that for like 2 years now. You know what I mean? So it's just a whole different ball game when you get into this. So husbands and wives, you got to use this as like your time to like come together on something. I don't care what business it is, just come together on something. Become the left and the right hand man of each other. Because the thing is, what happens is that in network marketing, you constantly spend about 90% of your time personal developing. So if you have one partner that is sitting there, increasing their consciousness, increasing their spirituality, raising their frequency, and then you have the other person that is either giving negativity or is just staying in the same spot, they're going to start to drift. Because one person is raising their frequency and the other person is just keeping it where it's at, right? So then over time, you notice that there's a space, there's a gap being filled, and one of the spouses may not see what they used to see in their spouse because their eyes are open now, right? So what you got to realize is that if your wife or your husband is stepping up their spirituality, their consciousness,
match them. You
have to. You know what I mean? You have to. Otherwise, you're just going to get left behind. And then all of a sudden, you guys start seeing that you have nothing in common, right? So whenever I get into something, Lacy's full, like 1,000% behind me. Whenever Lacy gets into something, I'm 1,000% behind her. You know what I mean? And when you have that blind support, like pretty much, like people love us. And it's because of the stuff that we put ourselves through to get the results, right? So you guys got to put yourself through some shit.
Yeah.
You have to. And not just
and then talk about it.
Yeah, and not just like the typical life shit, because we all have that. We all have the bills. We all have the career struggles and stuff like that. I'm talking about going through, I guess, a career struggle. That is what I'm talking about. Going through a career struggle together instead of separately. You know what I mean? I need me an MLM wife. Bro, it's crazy.
It's so fun.
It's so much fun, too, because then, I don't know, I just love it. It's just changed everything.
I want to give you guys a little bit of hope if you're outgrowing your husband.
Or wife.
Because this is something that we look at, or wife, in The Hungry Bear. And something that I've seen is that as you are increasing your vibration, you know, first of all, life is going to give you the lessons that you need to understand unconditional love and boundaries. So you're going to understand how to treat that person where they are.
Yep.
Second of all, your vibration is going to affect them. And so they might be releasing and purging things and growing a little bit with you, but not purposely. You know what I mean? And so you never know. Stick around and give it some time. Live the way that you should, and you're going to inspire them eventually. And you know, if eventually never comes, it will give you the boundaries that you need to make the decision to walk away, because this is no longer healthy for you, and you cannot let another human, you know, dictate the results of your life. You can't. Not if they're not willing to keep up with you.
And that's huge. Like, if your spouse, and this is hard for people to hear, but if your spouse is not supporting you and you notice that it's a pattern that they don't support you. It could be at your work. Maybe you're starting a new business. Maybe you want to do some new hobbies, some new habits and stuff like that. And it almost seems like every time you want to start something new, you get shit from your spouse. It's time to leave that spouse.
Because they're not allowing you to live your life.
They're the box.
Yeah.
They're the one that has you in the box. And life, I know it's hard, right? I know it's hard to break up with your spouse because, you know, and the thing is, here's the concept. You're not really in love with your spouse. You're in love with the thought of who your spouse could be, right? But they're not currently being that. So you put yourself in that box hoping that one day it'll change, right? Maybe if I change, they'll be more happy. Fuck that shit. Because literally, spending all those years trying to make that happen, you could find somebody that helps break that box right wide open, right? And when you spend time with somebody who's helping you raise your frequency, other than fighting somebody, it's a whole new ballgame. Life starts opening up for you so much faster. And that's why we fucking go.
And
it makes sense.
It's so hard because if you are in that place, you're pouring all of your energy into your spouse, right?
None into yourself.
And they aren't pouring theirs into you.
Yeah.
If anything, they're just sucking it. Like they're just taking it. And so who's pouring into you?
Yeah.
Because he's not. She's not. And you aren't. Because you're pouring into them, wishing they would do it back to you. But here's the deal. You wishing that they would pour into you cannot make them do it. And so at some point, you're going to have to stop pouring into them and start pouring into yourself.
And you may not even notice this, but they could be the toxic person in your life.
Yeah.
And they're normally the hardest to break because you care about their opinion so much. So like what she was talking about, you want to be in a situation to where I pour into her cup till it overfills, and then she takes that same cup and she pours it back into mine.
Yes.
And then we just keep doing this for like ever.
And
then we go on into our next life, and we just keep doing that over and over again because we feel like this is the 4th time we've been married. That's why we're rocking this shit. You know what I mean? So keep an eye open for that. You know what I mean? Some of you guys may be in that right now.
Protect yourself.
Yeah, some of you guys may be looking at yourself like shit.
It's so weird because like with you pouring into him or your spouse and your spouse pouring into your spouse, none of your dreams can ever happen.
No.
Because your dreams require energy. And if there's no energy being put into you, there's no energy being put into your dreams cannot. They cannot happen. And so it's crazy to break it down, but it's necessary, and you deserve that love, so give it to yourself.
And plus, a lot of the spouses who are negative, they're just like, oh, it's not gonna make any money. It makes some fucking money, guys. Like this is like the biggest money that you're ever gonna see. You know what I mean?
And maybe if you stopped telling it that it wouldn't make money,
you'd make some fucking money.
It would start making some money for you,
start
right?
making some money.
Because it's all in your mind.
Yeah.
That's what it is. It's all in your mind.
Absolutely, absolutely. Where are we at? 24 minutes. Do I have anything else? No, we talked about, I had 3 major points that I wanted to get through, and we got through all of them.
And we even talked about some spirit stuff, so I love it.
Yeah, we talked about it. So what do you guys think? You guys like this? Good. So if you guys got some value out of this, drop us some heart emojis, drop some 1 in the comments, tag who you need to tag in it, share who you need to share in it. Oh, and then Bear, you want to tell them about our group?
Yes, so every single morning I like to start my day with a meditation, power virtues, and a lesson. And our group is called The Hungry Bear. You can join for $5 a month to tackle your limiting beliefs with me. So today we are talking about forgiveness, and that's what I'm off to do.
Yeah, so normally you guys get me first in the morning. I give you guys like some business tips and stuff like that. And then Lacy gives you the spirituality and the motivation to go do it. Because what we've noticed is that if we just give you guys business tips, people know what to do, but don't do what they know, right? So we can tell you all day what to do, but if you don't have the motivation to actually go out there and do it, it's not gonna happen. And that's where Lacy comes in. So I'll post the link in the comment section. It's www.jointhb.com, and it's literally 45 minutes with Lacy every single morning.
I truly embody my inner Princess Poppy.
She's I love it. All right, guys. We'll see you guys in the next one. Take it easy.
Love you guys.
Love ya.